Next on AM 1480 WLEA, the Newsmaker Show. Here's Brian O'Neill.
Glad to have with us on today's show Allegheny County Legislative Chairman Curt Crandall, who, among other things, took a very interesting trip to Washington. We're going to find out about that today. Curt Crandall, thank you for joining us.
Brian, thanks for having me. Glad to.
Well, you know, reading through the press release that you sent out to our email here at WLEA, I was looking through it, and it said that you met people like Kellyanne Conway and all kinds of big names down there in Washington D.C. Tell us all about it. How did you get an invitation to the White House, and what was it like? Tell us.
Well, my understanding is that the Trump administration is reaching out to, obviously beyond just Allegheny County, New York, but all of the counties all across the country. They're having different states come in, and what they want to present is some of their policy and approach on some of the issues that face the counties. And we had actually, this is the second invite we got. We were down last November as well, a few of us. And we thought that it was an invite like that doesn't come around every day. And when you have an opportunity like that, you better take it. So, yes, with this this trip down, we went down. There was a reception the evening before that was put on by the National Association of Counties, of which we're a member. And they are down in Washington. They have an office within walking distance of Union Station, right downtown Washington. And we went down, had a reception there, talked about the counties and their efforts in Washington, lobbying, if you will, on behalf of the counties. And the next morning was the event at the White House, which we arrived, had a certain time that we were to be at a particular entrance, and we had already sent our credentials down to have them background checked from the Secret Service. So we were on the list. We went through the process to get in, which is reasonably extensive. There's several stations that you go to with your identification. They were asking your Social Security number, last four digits, that type of thing. Dogs. One station was they had dog there that went around you, and just an interesting process to just get in. Once we were in, we had a tour of the East Wing of the White House, and then once that was through, which was we had pretty good time there, probably hour and a half maybe there in the East Wing of the White House, and then we went over to the Eisenhower Executive Building for the conference part of it, or the meetings.
Now, it says the event was run by the White House Office of Intergovernmental Affairs, and that you heard presentations from Senior Presidential Counsel Kellyanne Conway and officials from the Department of Energy, Agriculture, Education, U.S. Trade Representative, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. So you met with everyone from Kellyanne Conway to officials from ICE. What did you take out of that? What did you learn, Curt?
I think one of the biggest things that impressed me is, if you listen to the national media and just pick up what they talk about, what's going on at the White House and the administration there, is you would get the sense that everything is chaotic and no control and that type of thing. These were very professional people. Everything is very well controlled. Having this type of a meeting with ones in government on our level is really hasn't been done to anybody's knowledge, ever, at least in recent history, to have us come in and have that kind of dialogue. One comment that Kellyanne Conway made when asked about the media was her disappointment in the media not reporting on really the important things. They focus on all the stuff that we hear about in the national media, but to focus on what's going on with the opioid epidemic, what the White House stance is on that, what's being done. A lot of her talk was geared around what's going on with the opioid epidemic and how they're trying to approach that and fund that and get to the core issues, the prescription problems, things like that. So that was her comment that, gee, why doesn't the media get word out on things that are important to the people, not just the sensational, 30-second blips that we hear?
You got that right. We're talking with Allegheny County Legislative Chairman Curt Crandall, who took a trip to Washington recently. Curt, what surprised you the most, if anything, about your visit to the White House? You said that, when you read, see, and hear, they talk about all constant chaos and whatnot, as if everything is a revolving door in every office and Trump is some sort of temperamental maniac. But what surprised you the most about what it was like to be there versus what you hear?
Well, again, I think that the calm, controlled atmosphere and the very professional approach that all of the people, whether they were part of the Intergovernmental Affairs Office or the other departments that you listed, from Kellyanne Conway on down, whether it was education, customs, that type of thing. We ended up with and I think the value of this, we ended up with a contact list from ones in agriculture to Department of Transportation to all of the agencies that are within Washington, that we have a direct contact with the White House, where if there's a problem with red tape, if we have a project
that was my next question, Curt. Did you feel like you walked away with a new connection there, somebody you could call in maybe an emergency or maybe just a frustrating situation where you were having a hard time with some agency and you needed some help?
We did. We have a list of direct phone numbers and emails, and the contact person in each of these: Veterans Affairs, Trade, Transportation, and so forth. And if there is a problem, and we're close with our representatives in our congressional and Senate representatives in Washington, but to have the weight or the voice of the White House chime in on a particular issue or problem, I think is extremely valuable. And why anyone wouldn't want that or think that would somehow be a wasted trip is beyond me, because that contact list is extremely valuable.
Talking with Curt Crandall, Allegheny County Legislative Chairman, who recently went down to Washington, D.C. So you went on the second invitation. That's amazing. They reached out to you twice. That shows on someone's part they're really anxious to find out what people think in the smaller towns and the rural areas of upstate New York, Curt Crandall. Did you happen to see Congressman Tom Reed or Senator Gillibrand or Senator Schumer during your visit?
We did not. This was actually, both trips were extremely quick, down and back. I had last time down contact with Tom Reed, of which we're each of our representatives we keep close contact with, but certainly wanted to make sure they knew we were in town. And Tom called me from across town last time I was in Washington, and it wasn't working out where we were going to be able to meet up with them, but certainly extended invitation and anything that could happen or that we needed from his office while we were there. But last time we were there in November, Vice President came in, spoke with us for a few minutes, and I thought that was pretty good to have him take a few minutes out of his busy time to come in and address the few of us that were there on the county level. So,
and what was that like meeting with Mike Pence, and anything you can share with us that he said?
Again, well, first thing was thanking us for our service, and he worked his way up through the ranks, if you will, and I think a lot of the ones that we met and have dealt with realize that everything isn't on the presidential level. It's the grassroots folks like us that have the ear to the rail, if you will, on issues across the country. And I think that just that common approach to government, if you will, and realizing that it's on the small town, village, small city, small county level that really is the heartbeat of America, is what we picked up from each of the people that spoke right on to Vice President Pence.
And when you went down to Washington, D.C., it was pretty much was it the full legislature or a lot of them anyway?
Yeah, we ended up with, this time we're actually have a new legislature, if you will, as of January. So we're 8 months into a new 4-year term for our board, and with 6 new legislators. So we've got, a third of our board is our new legislators, and a fair number of them went. We ended up with a number of legislators that went. We also had our county treasurer, county attorney, and our clerk of the board went on this trip. Last November, the county administrator went as well. So we've had a pretty good bunch of Allegheny County legislators in and out of Washington, in and out of the White House, and I just think that's that's a good thing for our county to be able to have those connections and be able to work through issues if they come up.
Talking with Allegheny County Legislative Chairman Curt Crandall. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back. When we get back, we'll talk Allegheny County issues. Stay with us.
St. James Hospital is committed to providing excellent care close to home. That's why we've added 2 new general surgeons, Dr. Brian Watkins and Dr. Adam Bassler. They're both passionate about caring for people in communities like Cornell, and they bring expertise in the latest techniques like minimally invasive surgery. Dr. Brian Watkins and Dr. Adam Bassler, they're helping St. James provide the best care in the best place, close to home. St. James Hospital, welcome to a healthy new day, part of UR Medicine.
It's time for the North Hornell Volunteer Fire Company Golf Tournament, Saturday, September 22nd at the Hornell Golf Club. The cost is only $200 per team, 4-person captain and crew best ball format. Tournament day includes 18 holes of golf and cart, coffee and donuts in the morning, hot dogs and chips at the turn, and a chicken barbecue at the end. There'll also be cash or prize contests and a hole-in-one contest where you could win a 2018 Jeep Cherokee from Maple City Dodge. For entry forms, email nh27golftournament@gmail.com or phone Tom Lafferty at 607-968-3420. Don't miss the fun and help a great cause, the North Hornell Volunteer Fire Company.
This is Allegheny County Sheriff Rick Whitney. It has been a privilege to serve as your sheriff, and I would consider it an honor to continue that service.
Tomorrow from noon until 9 p.m., please vote to re-elect Sheriff Rick Whitney.
Thank you for your support, paid for by the Rick Whitney for Sheriff Campaign Committee.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
In baseball games of note, we have our first team into the postseason.
Here's the pitch from Hembrook. Swung on and hit in the air to right center field. Mookie Betts going back. Jackie Bradley going back. Bradley calling for it. He makes the catch. And the Red Sox have clinched the playoff berth with a 7-2 win.
Final call from the Red Sox radio network as Boston gets its 99th win of the year and clinches the playoff berth. The Cubs shut out the Brewers 3-0. Chicago's lead in the NL Central's back up to 2 games on Milwaukee. Diamondbacks down the Rockies 6-3. Arizona moves 2.5 back of Colorado in the NL West race. Colorado still has a 1.5 lead on LA atop the division. The Dodgers lost to the Reds 3-1. LA now 0-6 against Cincinnati this season. Cardinals beat the Pirates 11-5. St. Louis now has a 3-game lead on LA for the final wildcard spot in the National League. Astros top the Tigers 5-4, while the A's edge the Orioles 3-2. So Houston remains 3 up on Oakland for the AL West lead.
And we're back with Allegheny County Legislative Chairman Curt Crandall. Curt, 13 years on the Allegheny County Legislative Chairman as the chair. How many years have you been total with the Allegheny County Legislature?
I first came on board in 2000, so this is my 18th year.
And what's going on in Allegheny County government these days?
Well, as I said, we've got a new board, and as of January. So last November, we went through the election process and ended up with 6 new board members, and looking to continue on as chairman, I thought that bringing the group together along with the department heads of Allegheny County was a good idea to just kind of, number one, meet, introduce ourselves, reintroduce ourselves, and give everyone an opportunity to bring forward any thoughts they may have as to projects or ways that we could improve Allegheny County government. So I set up a meeting over to Lake Lodge, Alfred State, and we spent a better part of a day over there, and it was kind of a brainstorming, if you will, and we called it Roundtable 2021, since 2021 will be our last year of this particular term. And anyways, we went down through and compiled a whole list of thoughts and ideas and ways we can improve our operations. Since that time, we have taken that list, and one by one we're working through them, deciding and seeing if there's majority support that would like to act upon that idea, or if it needs more information, we're seeking more information on it. If it's something that there's not enough interest for, then we're saying no to it and not moving forward with it. So it's a way to work through various ideas and various proposals, and I think it's going to be a good one. I think it's a good approach.
Talking with Allegheny County Legislative Chairman Curt Crandall. Now, from my knowledge of Allegheny County, as far as public safety and law enforcement goes, the Allegheny County Sheriff's Department is pretty much focused on running the jail, and though they do get involved with some of the probation suspects, and a lot of it's done by the state police there in Amity, and then you have your various police departments in Bolivar and Wellsville and Alfred. And what sort of public safety issues have you dealt with this year, and any interesting issues going on, or will there be anything coming up as far as public safety? I'm sure you're in constant contact with people like Alfred Village Police Chief Paul Griffith or Chief Tim O'Grady over in Wellsville.
Yeah, and really our direct contact is with our Sheriff Whitney, and different than maybe some of our neighboring counties, we don't have a full-blown road patrol, so a big charge of the sheriffs is the operation of the jail. We actually opened that in 2006. It would cut the ribbon the first year I was chairman of a new public safety facility or jail, and our bond payment for that facility is $1.6 million a year, and we have been fortunate enough to bring in prisoners from outside Allegheny County to the tune of a little better than $2 million each year to offset the cost of that bond payment. That was the plan when it was built, and we've been able to stick to that plan financially since we opened the doors.
Right, and I imagine that. I don't imagine. I know that the law enforcement units in Allegheny County also work a lot with the Southern Tier Regional Drug Task Force. Are they out of Olean, Curt?
Yeah, it's common. Yes, in a combination of different agencies.
When you visited Washington, and they talked about the opioid situation in America, where a lot of people get addicted to opioids, and then they turn to drug addiction, maybe buying heroin off the streets because with the hopes that it has fentanyl in it. Did you come away from any ideas after your Washington meeting? Because you said that topic was a big one when you were in Washington.
Yeah, that was a big one, and one that talked about it the most, I think, was Kellyanne Conway. And one of the points that she made and that they're driving home is the number of prescription drugs that are out there, and somehow getting a handle on, what is right. They know that there's more than enough prescription drugs that are on the street, and there has been a couple of rounds of gathering up unused drugs, and she shared the amount of drugs that were, turned in like that, which was, just tons of prescription drugs that were not used, that were prescribed and were left over not used. So somehow there are more drugs being prescribed than what's needed. At least that was the position taken by Kellyanne Conway. So getting a handle on that, and there was also examples of the amount of drugs that are prescribed in the United States versus other countries. We live in a country where our health care is certainly good. Nobody's going without, and the number of drugs that are being prescribed, though, is way over the top compared to some of the other countries that may be in our category. So it seems that there's an effort on the federal level, certainly from the White House standpoint, to get a better handle on that, better regulations to help curtail some of the drug problems that we have.
Final question for you, and it's related to the opioid topic. Did the topic of opioids and drug arrests come up when you heard from the immigration and custom enforcement officials? Yeah, I mean, that's a big one within that community, and what's driving a lot of the problems with that. If you have the immigrants that come in, illegal or otherwise, those that are productive and working and not into the wrong areas, wrong side of the law, if you will, certainly aren't presenting the problems that those that are into illegal drugs and into those type of things are presenting for all of us. So it's filling our jails. I mentioned our out of county residents that are in our jail. Drugs are a big problem of that. That's what's filling the facilities, if you will. Very interesting conversation today with Allegheny County Legislative Chairman Curt Crandall. Curt, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Brian, thanks for having me.